Good day, well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, good day, and welcome to Music Motors. Welcome to the 2019 Volvo XC90. Now, the one I'm driving is a £66,000 variant, an Inscription with many options including Bowers and Wilkins, but this is also a B5, not the petrol B5, the diesel B5. 2-litre diesel, it's 235 brake, it is 480 Newton meters of torque, it gets to 16.7 seconds, tops up at about 140 miles an hour. But it's £66,000. If you want to jump into an XC90 in a Momentum, you'll start around 52,000, and you can go up beyond this Inscription to an Inscription Pro, which will give you 21-inch alloys, heads-up display, and a multitude of other things. So this is the 2019 Volvo XC90, and this is a B5 variant, and I can't wait to tell you a bit more about it. Exterior-wise, Volvo design language is quite nice. You'll see it throughout their range. They all kind of have a design language which a lot of people can get along with. It looks good, it's not too shouty, but equally not boring. Nice lines starting from the front. It is very typically Volvo. That same design language you've seen ever since, or pre even Volvo 240 era. The front end of this XC90 looks good, bold, but now sleeker, more aerodynamically refined, with very strong daytime running lights and a very nicely put together grille and light combination. It looks incredible. From the front end as well, with this one finished in denim blue, as you come up behind people, a lot of people think you're a marked police, at least in the UK. So as a result, it gives you a kind of unmarked police look, which is quite funny. At times on the motorways, you come up behind people, it can be like Moses parting the sea. It's quite impressive. Side profile, XC90's not changed since the last revision too much, but again, it's a very nice, sleek and well put together side profile. It does have running lines which do flow nicely. Equally not too bulbous either. Some of the previous generations XC90, especially if you look at the mid-2000s, side profile had some very bulbous kind of arches going on. That design language has now been taken away effectively, as in it's not bulbous. It's definitely still there to an extent, because you do definitely have slightly more pushy outy arches, shall we say. That's to do with the SUV feel of this vehicle, which they've captured and they've done very well. The back end of the XC90 is one of the masterpieces, because realistically when you look at a lot of competitors, and even if you're looking at things like an X5, or I mean realistically cost wise now you're probably looking at Velar. The Velar is a great looking vehicle, and as is the X5, but the XC90 does it in a completely different, and for me, really stylish, luxurious and upper class way. Generally then from the outside it looks good. 20-inch diamond cut alloy wheels, being an Inscription with that type of alloy design, it does look mega. The exterior design of this is just fantastic. It looks really luxurious and sleek, but not shouty, not in your face, just really well put together, and it's just a really beautiful thing to look at. And it seems to be that's what Volvo are really good at now, making exceptionally beautiful vehicles. It goes without saying that around town isn't somewhere that you would typically see an XC90, but it's something I'm going to test. Not around town in a really busy environment, but no motorways, generally back roads, tighter environments, seeing what the fuel economy is like, and seeing how it drives around town. Let's go. So a reasonably surprising result, 39.7 miles per gallon on that journey, which to be fair was a lot of free rolling. Although it was around town kind of speeds, it did not really incur a lot of start-stop moving. However, what I will say is it is incredibly comfortable. The visibility, considering the size of the vehicle, is second to none, and it really does seem to suit even smaller driving circumstances. You don't notice the size of the vehicle until it gets very tight. Very impressed. Now moving from that beautifully finished exterior to an equally beautifully finished interior. The XC90's interior is like a work of art, effectively. As soon as you get in, you feel immediate build quality, like real build quality, from the door handles as you get in to shutting the door, and the sound you get when you shut the door, that 5-star NCAP rating sound, that sound of absolute safety. But equally at the same time you get in and you smell luxury items, like really nice leather, and the plastics don't feel cheap. This is a car which has done almost 5,000 miles with journalists, and it's done an exceptionally good job of dealing with living with journalists. The scratches are not to be seen. Everything does really well. Now, from the driving point of view, you have a huge amount of visibility, and even though this is a big car, it doesn't feel big to drive. You have a huge, nice leather dashboard, and if you option to go for an Inscription Pro, you then have heads-up display. Bowers and Wilkins sitting prime, bang in the middle, a £3,000 option, but I'll get to that very, very shortly. The infotainment is now less kind of flat on with you. It's now kind of a bit back and a bit out of the way in a really good way, meaning that you can still access it, but it's not so in your face. It means almost as if it's more driver orientated. It's really, really nice. The wood effect all over this, obviously, it depends how you option it. You might want plastics, but if you go for wood, it is a fantastic, fantastic finish. From the front end, it is just a luxurious and superb place to be. Really comfortable, really quiet, all of the technologies at your fingertips, and you never get tired of driving this. And if you did find yourself getting a bit tired behind the wheel, but you're really close to home, there's so many systems on this to keep you safe. You can almost push through to the extent of, if you're on the motorway and you're just saying, I just need to get to the next services, well, realistically, you could almost put the lane keep, the autopilot on to keep you going. And it is an exceptionally good autopilot system, which through every generation seems to be getting better and better. Rear seat amenity, and the first of the rear seats anyway, very good, very spacious, exceptionally spacious. So spacious, in fact, that during gigs I found myself not getting changed in cold, damp changing rooms, but rather coming back here, putting the preconditioning on to warm the car up, and then getting changed in the back with the blinds up so no one could see me. Really spacious, really comfortable. And honestly, I mean, if you had people in the back, I want to be in the back. I got in the back and realised the driver's seat is lovely and it's an amazing driving position, and this is a great car to drive. But that back seat's mega comfy. And then to the back seat, again, good amount of space. You've got 2 extra seats at the back, making this a 7-seater. Not as spacious in the final 2 seats as it is in the middle row, but equally that middle row can go forward just a little bit to give a bit more space in the back. With the rear seats not up, you have a humongous boot, which offers you so much capability and practicality to the extent. So if you've optioned in the air suspension, the adaptive 4 chassis control suspension, whatever they call it, it then also gives you the option to lower the rear of the car when you're putting, you know, heavier things in, you're struggling to get stuff in. You need it to be a little bit lower. You need that load height to be lower, something which a lot of 4x4s don't offer. And Volvo went, I can see something we can do here. Press a button, it lowers down, and suddenly you can put loads in. When I was putting things like bigger PA speakers in and big heavy boxes, lifting them up onto the normal lip can be a little bit difficult. I'm not, you know, there's no denying that. But lowering it makes it considerably easier. Really then, the interior to me is just a beautifully finished and practical and spacious and safe, and it's everything. Even the digital display is really, really well put together. They haven't changed that too much over the last couple of years. I'm going to get to the Bowers and Wilkins system. They didn't give me too much information on it. What I do know is it's a £3,000 system. It offers you things like a Gothenburg reverb setting, and it then has a studio reverb setting. Within reason, and this is me putting it up against a lot of very, very expensive systems, including those in things like Rolls-Royce and Ferrari, this is better. The way that this has such a neutral and flat response, but equally is so clear and so dynamic. I've never, aside from the last XC90 I had with the Bowers and Wilkins system, I've never experienced anything like it. It is truly magnificent. Listening to music on this system is a pleasure. Put classical music on, put it on the Gothenburg setting, and you might as well be in the Gothenburg Symphony Hall listening to them yourselves. It's that accurate of a reverb response. It's immense, and honestly, there's so many lows, and yet the highs aren't cutting out. There's loads of speakers to give you everything you could need. It is an exceptional system, truly exceptional. Welcome to a busy busy day. So I'm heading to Silverstone to do some stuff with Radical, and then I've got a gig in the evening, and you're joining me when the sun is just coming up, and no doubt we'll see the sunset today as well in this part of the video. So this is all about fuel economy, living with the XC90. How does it do? See you at Silverstone. Arrived with an average of 37.5 miles per gallon, which I'm pretty impressed with. Really comfortable. This is really built for a daily commute. Brilliant audio, really nice driving characteristics. Now onto a very wet and soggy track day before I head to my gig in the evening. Okay, on to the next bit already. Silverstone was wicked, fuel economy, comfort, more updates at the end of this segment. We're not at the end of the day yet. Arrived, loaded in, so far averaging 37 miles to the gallon, really easy to drive. Such a lovely thing to do, high miles in. Onto the gig, and then we'll find out the resolution. All of my thoughts at the end of the day shortly. Gig over, so it's home time, and then I'll give you a big summary of everything at the end. That was a busy day, 20 hours, the best part of, on the go. And the XC90 was a extraordinarily good companion. Good sound system, good visibility, great comfort. Turn this back on. Decent frugality, 37 miles to the gallon, combined over 350 miles. Really impressive. And this doesn't drive like a big car, it drives like something half the size. So for the everyday commute, no matter where you're driving it, it does a really good job, and it's passed the gigging test with flying colours. Performance-wise, so 235 horsepower, 480 newton meters of torque. It gets to 60 in about 7 seconds, just over 7 seconds, and tops out at 140. Now, within reason, when I saw I had a 2-litre diesel variant coming, I thought a 2-litre diesel in a vehicle this size is ridiculous. But somehow Volvo have nailed it, because while this offers you really quite decent pickup and go, being a 2-litre diesel and being this new 48 volt hybrid sort of system, it then also turns around ridiculous fuel economy. When I say ridiculous fuel economy, I do quite literally mean for a vehicle of this size sat on the motorway, you get 60 miles to the gallon, as long as you sat at about 65 miles an hour. Now, I generally average 37 miles to the gallon. So from an economy point of view, Volvo have nailed it. But then from the performance point of view, it doesn't drive like a vehicle of its size in the slightest. It feels very composed and dare I say, almost nimble. The steering response is very, very positive, and the brakes actually are really punchy and do offer some feedback, though because it's kind of trying to regenerate some power to put back into the system when you're braking, you do have a little bit of that hybrid pedal feel. But once you're used to it, you realise the brakes are really quite good. Throttle's very responsive. When you do option in the adaptive suspension, shall we call it that, it means when you put it into the dynamic driving mode, it lowers it ever so slightly. It also means when you go in an off-road setting, it heightens it, it makes it higher. Now, I've got to tell you this, I never expected to be doing every type of driving in this, and over 680 miles-ish, I did do every type of driving. I did A roads, B roads, C roads, off-road. I did horrific rain, I did terrible winds, and yet it just dealt with it. It did an immense job of everything from a driving point of view. At no point in heavy rain did it feel unsafe or unplanted. At no point when I went into a muddy field did it struggle. At all points did it feel safe and composed, and from a performance point of view, for a vehicle of this size to be able to turn that around whilst giving you fuel economy and safety from an interior point of view, it is absolutely second to none. And the driving characteristics, while not as pokey as something like a 3 litre straight 6 in an X5, equally don't leave you behind the competition that much when you consider how luxurious and well put together this is inside and out. From that performance point of view, it's incredible. It's just sad to think that really this is coming to the end of the cycle. These are going to be the last diesel engines we're going to see coming out of Volvo, and before we know it, the last petrol engines, because they're going to go fully electric. It's a real shame, but this is Volvo's way of saying, well, look what we could do. And they did it extremely well. What an amazingly composed vehicle this is to drive, and what amazing economy it turns around. How beautiful it's designed, that won't change, and the interiors won't change either. But from their performance point of view, to say, look what we can do out of a 2 litre diesel, is pretty remarkable.